All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Arrows Podcast with your boy, Josh. And now I have a good friend, Anna Marie Ellison.
Hi.
Certified killer, certified beast. I've met a lot of freaking killers in my life, and I mean this. I really meant it, that she's one of the best that I've ever met in terms of operational skills, making sure everything's going and running, but also making sure the culture is good at the company. And those are very hard things to all, just make sure they're all performing at high levels. So that's something I've always appreciated about working with Anna Marie, working for ERA King. And so I've always been so curious about some of the stuff that just kind of makes you tick, especially in a market that we're in right now where, everyone's finding a lot of success and, but it's like, okay, how do you differentiate yourself when, all of the water is rising and all the boats are lifted, how are you just not riding that wave? And, she has a good kind of like a track record of making that stuff happen. You can say, we can talk your stuff on this podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. But, anyway, so just to get started, where, how did you get into your career? Were you doing something before real estate? Was this kind of your first, option? Walk me through how you got started.
So before coming into real estate, I worked for a series of 13 health clubs and I ran the back office for those health clubs. So I was managing $29 and $39 a month payments.
Got it.
And complaints from people that, the gym wasn't clean, bulbs are burnt out, personal trainers are hitting on me. So I got used to the managing of the customer service side, managing how to, manage the money coming in and then bills going out. And I hated it. I started out liking it because I got to wear workout stuff every day to the office.
Athleisure vibes.
Yes. And
the millennial dream.
Right. And, but I was stuck in a cubicle or stuck in my office and I just talked to people that we owed money to or people that owed money to us. And then people who weren't happy with the gym. That's all I ever talked to. And I just started looking for something else. My aunt has her license. She still sells down in the panhandle of Florida. And I asked her about it and she said that she thought I would enjoy it, but
real estate.
Yep.
Yeah.
That I was coming from, it was just, I would be the only person monitoring what I was doing. So I started to look at companies. I was living in Anniston, Alabama at the time. I started looking at companies and all the ones that I talked to in the area were talking about what they had done and were kind of looking in the past. And when I met with Everett for the first time, Mr. King, and our 1 hour went into 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
He's very passionate and very proud of what he's built.
Yeah.
I liked that he was thinking about the future and where the company was going. I mean, ERA King at that time had a lot of accolades that he was able to tout, but he wasn't just focusing on them. He had a direction for where he wanted a company to go. And ultimately I decided that I wanted to join a company who was equally looking forward into the future and not only focusing on the past.
Got it. And just for context though, was this just right out of college or were you a few years out?
I went to school for 2 years, went on a volleyball scholarship to Montevallo. And I got injured and went and did rehab at the gym that I wound up working for. Got distracted and started working at the gym and didn't go back to school. When I went to, by the time I lived in Anniston and right after my son was born, I decided that if I did not go back to school at that time that I would never go back and finish.
Yeah.
So right after my son was born in 2008, I decided to go back to school and I took 4 hours with 21 hours each semester. And was the number 3 producer in my office and was involved in the community, but I wanted to get it done. So
that's crazy. Yep. That's crazy. So both the personal life, your academic life and your professional life were all kind of starting all at the same time, basically. Because Major just got born, right? Mm-hmm. Back to school, basically. And then real estate career, what was that like? What was juggling all those 3 things? I mean, it sounded like things were popping, but
when I lived in Anniston, I didn't know anybody there because I'm from Birmingham. So at that point, I jumped in both feet. I followed Anna King, showed up, looked at her calendar, showed up where she was going to be, rode in the car with her, and just shadowed her 100%. ERA King sponsored a bunch of charitable. And at that time, it wasn't called the 12 Months of Giving like we have now, but they sponsored a bunch of things. So there was always tickets to fill in the blank events, and I would always volunteer to go. We had zero income coming in. So if I didn't sell anything, we were not
Y'all
going
not
to eat.
eating.
And I had figured out a way that if we could do Sunday lunch at the parents' and then take home the leftovers and eat dinner on Sunday night. On Monday morning was sales meeting. So I knew I could get breakfast at sales meeting.
Oh my gosh.
Probably get leftovers for Monday night. Tuesday was a chamber event. So I knew I could have business and biscuits or something happened in the chamber so I could get breakfast then. So then on Wednesdays I had covered because we always had like lunch and learns at the office. So we were good to go there. On Thursdays I was stuck. So I decided to join the Kiwanis Club.
Oh my.
But I didn't have any money to join the Kiwanis Club.
Yeah.
So I bartered and said, hey, I'll do your e-newsletter if you do my dues for free. So I did their e-newsletter for all 150, 175 of their members, who little notes to me at the time, I didn't realize how that was going to help me because they got an email from me once a week about Kiwanis news.
Oh my gosh.
And it just kept on rolling. So a whole bunch of people started knowing who I was very quickly in an area that I had never grown up in. I was just trying to get my Kiwanis dues paid for.
And you're just trying to get some lunch too.
Yep. So I could eat on Thursdays. I could take a to-go box from the club. And then on Fridays, we'd eat at the field house.
So interesting. So like there really was it was either like produce or die almost kind of situation.
Or do something else. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you when was that scary for you to kind of make that leap? Especially considering all the responsibilities you had.
Well, at that time there wasn't a major. Like I said, we were renting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So at that time we were renting, but I didn't really. It's worse when I hear myself tell it now. It sounds really bad, but at the time I was like, just got to do what I got to do.
Yeah. Because it sounds wild.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like we didn't have any money, but I mean, it was.
You were trying to
tight.
But see, I think a lot of people kind of get freaked out by just the thought that, oh, you really don't have anything coming in just yet. And then that kind of like holds them from kind of pursuing what really could be like life-changing for them. And I always try to tell people like there's always workarounds, and they don't believe me. And that sounds like the best executed workaround possible. Like you just turn these networking events into like, yo, we got to eat today.
Well, yeah. And I went to eat, but wound up, I would wear, at that time we all had ERA blazers.
But then also network like hell.
Well, and because I was coming from a health club that wore khaki pants and a white shirt, all I did was wear my khaki pants, a white shirt.
And then the blazer.
And then the blazer. And it looked like I knew what I was talking about. So at that point, I just had to learn the market and make sure I had good follow-up techniques.
Where do you think that kind of attitude came from of just like, no matter what happens, we're going to make it, I'm going to make this happen? Because it sounds like that was kind of inherent in you to even just kind of think that way. Like, where do you think that came from?
Heredity, but I also think playing high school sports and being in the weight room teaches you about perseverance, and it's okay to fail. You just got to get back up. When you're in the weight room and that's the only place that I can think of that it is okay. Your goal is to fail when you go in there. You want to get to a heavy weight that you cannot push it anymore. You can't lift it. You can't move it. And then you start over the next day and you have to break yourself down to get stronger. So I do think that helps set up a good foundation mentally for me to just be tough and go let it roll off my back. Hell
yeah. So how long were you selling like before?
From 2000, I got my license in 2006 till 2014.
So like 7 years of like pure selling. How was that experience like? I know obviously like you got it off the ground pretty quick, but what did you like about being basically like a realtor? I mean, especially coming from more of like a corporate kind of job, like what did you like about it? What did you not like about it?
Like what everybody tells you. I like that I have my own schedule.
Fair.
That I got to make the times. I liked the project management of the going through a transaction and being the quarterback of the deal, making sure that everything
I don't hear that very often.
Facilitated correctly.
Yeah, I don't hear
I like the marketing piece. That's why you and I jive so much, because I like that piece. And I understand the numbers part of it.
When you're working with like with realtors now, I hate to like skip around so much, but when you're working with realtors now, is that like a quality that you look for when kind of like recruiting or even kind of like training people up here, like that leadership of the deal? Is that something that's like big to you? Because I know a lot of people think of real estate as just like, oh, you just have to be like a really good salesperson or something. But it sounds like you're the front end and the back end of the work. So
I think agents inherently, I had to learn everything that we just talked about and how it applied to real estate. I think agents tend to focus on the ones that they enjoy the most and not want to do the other part of it. And so hopefully with the coaching sessions we have, which are basically consulting sessions for me with these agents and their businesses, we get to kind of, from a holistic approach, look at everything that touches their business to make sure that they are focusing on the project management side, not just the marketing piece, not just the networking piece, not just the, I like sending out postcards and mailers piece because they enjoy doing that part. There's other parts that make up their business, and we get to focus on all of them.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
But yeah, in answer to your question, I do ask whenever we're talking to agents from other companies or anybody really that we would like to have come on board, I do try and get in the weeds a little bit to figure out how they solve problems and how they work through things that happen, good and bad, so that I can kind of have an idea of what their thought process looks like, how they're going to work through those things. I know when I've hired from an administrative standpoint, when I've hired staff, I've given them different examples of things that might come in through the day and asked them to triage them so that I can see how they'd work through which one they felt was the most important to conquer first, which one to conquer second, which could wait till later in the week, and how they would handle those situations.
You spoke a little bit about the marketing and how that was always something that you really, really enjoyed. How is marketing from 2007 to now? Like, talk to me like what you've seen in terms of the growth of that, or like the development, or just kind of like what the difference is.
Wow. Well, in 2006, prior to probably about 2010, everything was what I can do for you as the client. So I am the best listing agent. I can get you 96% list to sell ratio. We won X amount of awards. It was very internal agent driven. And I will say that the realtors are the brakes of America. So change happens last in the real estate industry when it comes to anything. So I think other industries started seeing this tell your story, start talking about what you do affects the customer that you work with. That shift started occurring before it ever got to real estate. So we are really just seeing that trend come about now. So instead of I've sold 12,000 transactions, you see I helped 1,200 families. It just has a different connotation.
Yeah.
And also talks about telling the story. So I know our Find Your Future campaign is all about things that people will want to do in their house or want to do in the future. And a home is probably a part of that. And how can ERA King fit into that piece?
So kind of the messaging has just gotten a little softer is what you're
It has, and not as abrasive. We finally got rid of clip art. Well, most of us got rid of clip art.
They've just turned into Instagram stickers.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Instagram and stuff, like you saw the marketing piece pre like social, and then to now, like can you speak about like kind of the evolution of that? You know, because I know you're pretty tuned into like other markets besides Birmingham and stuff too, and so I'm sure you saw like that coming at us like years probably in advance. And I know you're like kind of one of the like innovators here about this like video marketing and how really prioritizing that, especially on personal brand and stuff too. But can you speak a little bit to that of like 2006 digital marketing to now? Because you even said like, I'm going to manage your e-newsletter for the Kiwanis Club, the Kiwanis Club. And now, you know, I mean, we just had a meeting about the newsletter, but people don't even treat it the same as they did 10 years ago, or even 4 years ago when I was doing it as like 5 years ago as an intern, you know? So right. Can you speak a little bit to that evolution?
So I would probably say the biggest thing is before this evolution has come from, there was only one place to get information to now there are more than one places to get pieces of information, and how are you being the voice? How are you weeding yourself out to be the voice of said information? For example, before, when a house was listed, they had to call the listing agent to get information about the house. Now you can go online and find out all of the information about the house and never talk to the listing agent.
Interesting.
How is the listing agent getting in front of everybody so that they can get people to call them to get the information?
Interesting. Because they could go to Zillow, they can go to Trulia, they can even just go on MLS
They can
themselves.
go to XYZ Realtor, which isn't the listing agent.
Because I didn't know you then when you were selling, obviously. Like, was it good? Like, did you do all right? Like what was that like?
No, I loved it. I got to a place where I was very content with my production because it gave me time to spend time with Major.
Were you still in Ellison, or you had already moved back here?
I was in Ellison, and I was very content. Allowed me to do some of my passion projects that I was interested in, being involved in the community and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it.
So it was good. Mm-hmm. So like, I've always wondered, like, if like the stacks were working, like with being a realtor and stuff, like, why make the move to be more behind the scenes and like manage all these ragamuffins, at a brokerage, basically? Like, because I bet that there's, and you can walk us through that a little bit. Like, I bet there's some things that you give away a little bit in terms of opportunities or whatever, in terms of just being able to just be kind of running around and doing your thing, and having to manage all them now. Like, what brought you to that point too?
I had gotten to a place where I wanted more responsibility. I'm that weirdo that said, I want to hold some more. I want to push myself further. I want to develop this skill even further. And I was very fortunate that Ann and Everett were looking for a broker for this Homewood office at the time.
And the skill in terms of like
leadership development.
Yeah. For sure. Was there a moment, could you kind of like pinpoint, was there a moment where you're like, I'm getting kind of bored, I kind of want something else? And like, what did that feel like? What did you want? Like,
what's crazy is after I got done with school and balancing those hours and community involvement and work and Major, I think I kind of missed like that had a void of time that I was going, now what do I fill that with? I had spent, I'd gone to class from 7:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning, and then would just sell real estate the rest of the day. And I kind of missed that opportunity to think about big picture things, higher level things that you get when you
are in school.
Yeah. And they were looking for a broker for this office. They had actually already decided on somebody, and I asked if I could interview. And so they gave me a courtesy interview because it's me. And Anna and Josh were on their phones the whole time. Everett was the only one sitting there listening to me. And at the very, very end, I said, he said, thanks for coming in. I think, we appreciate it. We're going to think about it. And I said, well, I've got one last thing. Because I've got something that nobody else that you've interviewed has. And he goes, really? What's that? And I said, I have the institutional knowledge of how your company works, and I believe in your culture, and I can teach your culture. Nobody else you interviewed can even replicate that. And it stuck with him. And about a week later, Anna says, well, are you going to hire, or are you going to go with this other person? And he said, did you hear what she said? I think it's just stuck with me. And he said that she looked down, and then she looked back up at them, and with all the love in her heart, she said, well, then hire the bitch.
Oh my gosh.
They came back. He said, all right, we're going to give you a shot. I said, okay. And they gave me, I know you can't see it on the podcast, but
you will, right here.
They gave me like this much rope. And which
4
was fine,
inches,
which was fine. And here we are 4 years later, and we've got 2 more offices in the Birmingham market. One was a successful merger and acquisition. And last year we were up year over year 23% in gross commission income. So just in the Birmingham market.
Golly.
So it's been good for everybody. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And the proof is not just in our results, but the culture we've been able to maintain and grow. And we've got a great great synergy amongst our agents it's really refreshing.
Oh my gosh. 4 years. I mean, that's like so fast to grow that much. Well, I was going to ask, like, what is your favorite part about being a broker so far? About being a managing broker?
Favorite part about being a managing broker is, for myself, is basically being a consultant for 102 different small businesses that work within our
That's
Birmingham
a cool way to
framework.
think.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. Yeah.
They're all very different in the way they want to operate. The end game is the same. Well, the goal might be different, but they have, a number that they want to get to. And they all have different goals for different reasons. Some of them is so that their wife doesn't have to work. Some of it is because they want to buy their husband a car. And we just want to help them, accomplish that goal. And so if you go with that mindset, you're looking at them from a business perspective, because we want them to run their business like a business. If they run their business like a business, then they help us run our business like a business too.
How deep into that, like, kind of personal side do you get into when relating with the agents, like, about their own, like, motivations and stuff? Because that's one thing I've, like, really learned in the past 3 or 4 years is this, that everyone's, like, motivated by completely different things, and which is so crazy for me. Like, I'm just like, there's only one thing, So trying to, like, get people kind of going and having those conversations. Like, how deep do you guys get into that around here?
How deep? As deep as they'll let us go. I mean, some of the agents, their sole goal is to make X amount of dollars, and they want to make X amount of dollars because it puts them in a different production level, because they want to be, within the top 5% of the MLS. And so that is their goal. And so we work from there. Other agents, it comes from a very personal place. I've got to pay for the chemo treatment for my grandmother. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, everybody's different. Some of them it takes a little longer to get out of them how they arrived to the goal.
Yeah.
So,
but it's something you guys kind of, like, you guys try to have those conversations and stuff.
we try, and I don't want to give you this grand illusion that everybody walks in and the walls are down, and just like free flowing with information. A lot of them, it's taken years for us to build those the trust and the micro deposits in our relationship bank, so that when they're ready, they're ready to share all of that with us. Just compounding interest, these little moments in time that we get to share with them.
I think you're one of the, you've spoken to me about that a few times now, about these, like, pouring into each other, like, little bits of time. Can you share a little bit about your philosophy on that, like, from, like, a relationship standpoint?
But time is your most valuable currency. Social currency is, social capital is probably one of the most undervalued but valuable things in our lives. If you, rely on somebody and you trust them, they trust you, and it's a lot more open and freer of a relationship, because you both know that the other person's going to do what they say they're going to do, and you trust that they're going to be when they say they're going to be, that they're going to support you when they say they're going to support. But that doesn't happen overnight. And unfortunately, we're in this day and age where everybody wants it
right now. Yeah.
And trust doesn't work that way. It takes lots of micro deposits, small deposits, and that compounding interest of that social capital, so that you build up enough that they can rest assured that I can make my living off of knowing this person's going to be here for me. People make mistakes. And when you make a withdrawal from that trust bank, the best thing to do is just say, hey, I made a mistake. And it's hard. A lot of people just would rather, you've got to decide, especially when you've made a mistake, or you've been the person that the mistake has happened to. Is this worth walking away? Or is it going to be uncomfortable for a minute, but they've came and talked to me about it? Nobody enjoys confrontation, especially now, because it's easier to just go, I'm done with them. I'm going to unfollow them. I'm not going to pay attention to them anymore. And especially in real estate, people tend to thrive off the drama. And that doesn't help sell anybody. That doesn't help sell houses. That doesn't move the buyer or seller any faster. It's just noise distracting you from what you want to do. So when we do make withdrawals, and sometimes we have on purpose, and sometimes we've had by accident, and we have made those. And there's one particular agent that I made a mistake, and I said, hey, I owned up to it. I went to her and I said, hey, I've made a mistake. Will you come meet with me? She let me have it for that whole time that we were sitting there at, I can't think of the name of the restaurant in Vestavia right this second. She let me have it. And at the end I said, I agree and I'm sorry and I'm going to do my best and I want you to stay with us. And anyway, she's still with us 2 years later. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I especially, and I will say this, in our generation.
Thank you.
Anna Marie, she won't admit it, but she's a millennial.
I am.
Yeah. It is so easy to kind of just like try to let things slide because you could get away with it if you really wanted to, but it's just like, I don't know. I think it's lame. Like, I think it's like, just face it head on, because then I feel like, say you made the withdrawal from me or whatever, and I just like let it slide. Like if I like push the ball back into your court and be like, hey, I'm really upset, like let's talk this through, then you really don't respond like how I want you, like more properly, then your true colors are showing. Then I can actually like kind of see, do I want to continue a relationship with Anna Marie, you know?
Well, and the trust bank is a two-way deposit.
Exactly, yeah.
So if in your scenario, if I made a withdrawal and you brought it to and you chose not to say anything and you just decided to distance yourself from me, I'm not going to know what happened with being wrong, and you're going to stop making deposits. And so our trust, this relationship starts deteriorating, and there becomes a schism, I think it's called, in between the two of us. And then all of a sudden we just don't talk anymore, and our business relationship and our personal relationship is over with. Where, because making a trust deposit is two-way street, when you do bring it to my attention and we talk about it and we actually have a conversation face to face, not to a text, not to a phone call, but we actually invest in mending this, it only makes your relationship stronger.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, so you spoke a little bit about failure, like with the weight room, and how like you've kind of accepted that as like a good thing almost, you know? So like, can you talk about a favorite failure of yours?
A favorite failure? So not like when I decided to have blonde hair. That was
that could be it.
That was an epic failure. And now I just own all of my gray hairs.
Yeah, your GCI just went down 40% when you went blonde.
Pretty much. Actually, it was a little crimson colored at the time. Like it was.
What? I got to see these pictures,
crazy.
Man.
My mother would tell you it was purple. It was more like a magenta.
Oh my gosh.
Straight blonde. And
you know, it's funny you said about the grays, because in high school, I wanted to like dye my hair gray and like do like streaks and stuff. And I was like, no way. And now I'm like, dude, I actually can't wait till I get a little.
Listen, I own all of mine. I earned every single one of them. Actually, this quadrant right here, it just came up since I was a broker.
But yeah, okay. Is it being blonde? So a lot of the like kind of like high achiever people that I've met, a lot of them have like a little bit of a routine. Do you subscribe to that? Like, and if so, do you like, what does it look like?
100%.
Yes.
I think habits make consistency, make you successful. So one of my habits is I get up at the gym. I'm at the gym by 5 a.m., 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday and Saturday. Saturday, I'm only at the gym at 8. That is a routine for me. Routine for me is every every Sunday evening, I look at my entire week and go ahead and block out all of the big projects, write down on my notepad that I have with me at all times. Anybody who knows me knows about this notepad right here.
Yeah.
It has my life in it. And I write down everything, the big projects that I need to do for the week. Then I go ahead and look at my calendar on my phone and go ahead and time block for when I'm going to do the projects. So it's not just a to-do list that continues to add on. I time activate what I write. So if this says Arrows follow up and it has a list of things for me to follow up on, I then add it to my calendar. I'm going to do this Tuesday between 1 and 2. And then I have an activation for when I'm actually going to take care of that. When I plan my time, meaning I take control of my time and I'm very aware of where my boundaries are, it is very stress relieving. Actually, I'm able to be more productive and don't get stuck on busy work, i.e. checking emails, looking at Facebook, looking at Instagram. And I am more productive with my time, and I end the week feeling like I actually accomplished something and moved forward to the 3 goals that are written at the top of this notepad every single week.
So that's honestly, like, I make jokes about not having plans and stuff, but like, I think the past 3 years, that's been one of the biggest things for me is the time blocking and just kind of like knowing when things are happening, but also like knowing when to stop.
Yep.
So like that's a question for me, because like that's something I'm kind of struggling with, is that okay, I set myself up for like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock to do like something like thing A, and it's not
Let's use edit video.
Edit ERA King videos.
Sure, I like that.
So it's that edit ERA King videos, and then 3 comes, and I still got some stuff to do. Like, are you like hardline, I'm done?
I've actually found that by doing what we just talked about and giving myself a 5-minute break in between. So my calendar, Google lets you set it up so there's like a 50 minutes. When you set an appointment, it actually ends at 1:50 versus 2 o'clock. And so I set them up so that there's that 10-minute, 5-minute interval in between that allows me to regroup, change my pin out. I do not check I time block when I check my email. I time block when I'm going to. Time block when I'm going to check Facebook. I'll write in there so that anxiety of, I don't have anything to do.
I got to do
something. Let me go check Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
That goes away. And the distraction that you get when you open your email, when you read your text messages, when you leave those, all of that goes away so that you're able to produce something that is part of being productive. All of those things that I just talked about, you are receiving and ingesting information. The things that you time block are the things that you do to make you productive. There are things that you need to produce. And if I can't remember the guy's name, but he's got the law of, and LeBron talks about it all the time. And it talks about how however long you give yourself to do something is how long it will take. And if you want to see that in application, ask a child to clean their room. It will take them all day to clean their room. Tell them that they need to clean their room by noon when you're going to go see the movies. When will they have that When will they have that room cleaned, Josh?
11:59.
That's right, 10 times. So you give them amount of time. Humans are the exact same way. However much time you give them to finish said task is how long it will take them to finish said task.
Interesting.
So when you make your to-do list, and let's say one of them is edit ERA King video, maybe one of it is work on some production for some of your other clients. When it's just a to-do list, you haven't given yourself a end time to any of those things. And so I have found, and some of the other agents that I work with, that when they write an ending time for that task, they're surprised at how much quicker they finish the task. It didn't take them as long as they thought it was.
It's like a psychological thing.
If they truly put their phone on Do Not Disturb, they don't check their emails, they don't watch the text message, they've got to completely unplug and focus on that task. And if you've already determined, all right, I'm going to check my emails at noon and respond to any of them, and you've given yourself 30 minutes to do it, you're not sitting there going, they might email me. I wonder if I got to respond. Will I have enough time to respond? When am I going to respond? What do they say? I don't know what they say. I wonder if anybody's called. What if anybody's texted? I don't know. I'm getting nervous.
The anxiety builds up. Oh my gosh.
They're not being productive because they're getting flustered and their neck's turning red because they think somebody's missing out when they know, okay, at noon, I'm going to handle all of that that's coming.
When did you start doing that? Like, was that recent?
So people talk about time blocking, and they give these examples of these master time blockers. And I liken it to the person who decides that they want to lose weight. And so they walk in the gym on January 2nd and expect to look like the bodybuilder or the shape model. It takes time to develop what time blocking looks like for you.
Yeah.
The main thing is that you've set up the consistency that I'm going to run my business in this manner on a repeated fashion. And I'm going to subscribe to the boundaries and adhere to the boundaries that I'm putting in place for my time. We talked about the micro investments that you have with each other. You are making those on purpose. You have to purposefully say, this is how I'm spending my time. It is your most valuable commodity.
Because it's so funny, because like the first year I tried doing it, I got more anxiety from like not doing it how they said to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I'm like, no, like I'm not going to let that make me feel worse. Like there's a way that I do it for me and like kind of the goals that I want to reach too. So,
but you have to look at it
from
take a step back and look at your time for the week. You can do it for the day if you want to.
Yeah,
from
like
the week gives you a holistic approach for most people. Let me look at the week. I want to have dinner with Cheyenne 2 nights a week. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that out in your purple time. Everybody knows I talk about purple time. That's your personal time. I want to make sure that I'm going to play NBA 2000, 2KO, whatever it is.
Super hard right now.
I'm going to play this for at least 8 hours on Sunday.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and block all that out. I need to, so that's your personal time you've set aside. Then you go and you go, all right, I know I've got these 4 projects right here I need to work on this week. I want to work on them I'm going to figure out when I'm going to work on them after I see my appointments. You can look to see when Danny has scheduled your appointments or Megan has scheduled your appointments for you. Then you layer in, okay, from here to here, I'm going to work on this. From here to here, I'm going to work on this. And then you can wake up daily and go, all right, these are some little extra things. Where can I actually put them on my calendar to do those things?
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely doing like right before I sleep, so that the next day I know what the plan is. And it's been super helpful. Like I've been able to just like, get so much more done the past couple of years, like from just putting that in place, and being able to like create boundaries for myself, because also the whole saying no thing, I used to be like such a yes to everything. And I've been able to actually get more done saying no to things because of that time blocking, like knowing I'm not going to be able to do that because I've already set my boundaries for how much I can do this week, and I've maxed out. And if I try to say yes one more time, there's going to be diminishing returns on that product or whatever extra project I do, because then I'm not all the way there. Energy's not all the way there. My mind's not all the way there. My heart's not all the way there. And I'm just saying yes to say yes.
Well, and I would think part of what you have to do is it's not just the actual editing or the production of the video. There's a portion of your time that's just thinking for the creative.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so are you blocking out your time to think through the creative for X project?
Or even just like finding inspiration, or like breaking up time to meet with the team, to be like, hey, like there's this project coming up, like let's create some references for it. Like, what do we want to do? And those are things that I don't even think I'm starting to learn now and think about as of the business. Like that is part of the job. Like it isn't just editing and making the pieces. It is like setting up everyone to kind of succeed and like be a part of the creative process too. So what's a purchase of $100 or less that has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
My air fryer.
Hey.
I love that thing.
What have you made on it?
Oh, what haven't I made on it? We've made wings. The bacon.
That's under $100.
Is amazing. The one I got, Amazon.
Hell yeah.
The wings are amazing. The bacon, like I said.
Wait, you're air frying the bacon?
Hell to the yeah. It's amazing.
I bet. Is it still oily? Like
it makes it like that good crispy, not like break your teeth crispy, but like that good.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Incredible.
Amazing.
So like what is like does the fat kind of like drip off because it's?
No, you have to like, except for with foods that are naturally oily, like bacon, you don't have to do it with that. But with other things like chicken, you have to toss it like in some olive oil or something like that. So I use some extra virgin olive oil.
Sure.
Toss it around, put it in the air fryer. It turns it in the little basket.
To function at such a high level and stuff, like as much as you can and putting out as much energy as possible, like health and fitness is a big thing for you. It sounds like how do you make time for that? Like, why is it so important to you for maybe this side of your life? So
I first started meal prepping for the fitness portion of that, so I could be in great shape. The convenient byproduct of that is because I have planned out what I'm going to eat for the week, I don't waste pointless amounts of time going, well, I don't know, where do you want to eat? Well, I don't know, what do you want to eat? Well, I don't know, what do you, and I just, it goes away, and it's all part of just being on purpose. I can monitor what goes in so I can make sure I have enough energy that comes out.
What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
Good night's sleep. And guess who monitors their sleep? This girl.
No, it's good. Yep. Oh my gosh.
I'm in bed. Speaking of boundaries, the agents here know that, and my team know that they're pretty much, if you text me after about 6:30, 6:45, you're not going to get me because I'm in bed by 7:30, 7:45.
Because you're like a morning person.
I am a morning person. And, but I'm up at 4, and you'll have a response before you need to answer anybody in the morning times.
Makes sense.
They get some emails occasionally at 4:05 in the morning from where I'm just responding to some things.
Have you always been a morning person?
Always been a morning person. I would say that is one of the most wonderful attributes that I've passed down to my son, is he is equally a morning person. Yeah. And so it's special for us. So
like when I learned recently that like, that is kind of like a physiological thing, like that is a superpower just for like the society we live in. 'Cause I'm a vampire. So I would sleep at 4 a.m. wake up at 10, knock out a bunch of stuff in that quiet, like nighttime thing. But I'm trying to like kind of find a better balance. But that's a superpower that you got right there. Yeah.
So have you ever checked out productivityflourishing.com? It's a guy by the name of Charlie. Can't think of his last name right this second. And he has written this kind of new thought process on being productive and time management, how you manage your time. You should check it out because it's more of a project-driven managing of time. But one of the things, the resources that he provides is a ability for you to figure out which times of day you are the most productive, regardless about whether you're a morning person or an evening person. When are you most productive? And once you learn that about yourself, making those times that you need to actually do work around those times.
You always ask this question for when you do your video stuff. Like, where do you see yourself 5 years? 5 years from now, 10 years? Like, what does Anna Marie look like? What's Anna Marie look like? Like
blonde. I'm gonna try it again. This time I learned which direction to go.
Yeah, but like, what do you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? 5 years, 7 years, whatever.
5 years from now, I see myself running a very successful real estate company in the Birmingham market. I think that I want to have 125 to 135 agents with a per person productivity of 25 deals or greater. At that point,
Trace, you've thought about this.
Yes, I have. Trace and I, at that point, will have been married for 8 years, and Major will have just graduated from high school. So that'll give us some opportunities to travel. So hopefully we will have a trip to Italy planned at that point. And prayers and Lord willing that Major will graduate from high school. And if he wants to, he'll have the opportunity to go to a college. If not, if he decides he wants to join the workforce, I have him a job here at ERA King Real Estate ready to work.
He can, what do you call it? He can run your social media, you know?
He's going to be a sign putter upper. Are you kidding me? You can't start in a plush social media job when you start out. He's got to sweat and hang signs and dig holes.
Yeah.
Maybe clean out houses when the sellers don't clean them out.
That's funny.
Yep. Sweat.
Yeah. Minimum wage too, you know?
Yep.
Just make him earn it. By the way, for everyone listening, Major is Anna Marie's son. He's a badass.
He's a cool kid. That's
He's a cool kid. And lastly, this is like the Tim Ferriss question. He really likes this one. Like, if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, you know, metaphorically speaking, it's going to go out to like billions of people. Like, and it, like, what would it say and why? Could be a few words. It could be like a paragraph. Like, what would it say? Join ERA King. I'm just kidding.
It would have one of two things. Either GSD.
Would you spell it out?
Get shit done.
No, would you spell it out? Like,
nope, it'd be GSD.
Okay. Just
not
that?
German Shepherd dog. And then the other one would be, or depending on the audience, would be DES.
Do
epic shit.
Yes. We're gonna end it on that. Anna Marie is a master of doing epic shit.
Oh, and if my mom's listening, that's get stuff done. Get stuff.
Oh, come on.
Done.
Wherever you're at, you know what she said. But thank you so much, Anna, for this so much time. I know you're a busy lady, so I really appreciate all the time that you spent with me today. And
I time blocked exactly an hour, so we're good.
Time block. Hey kids, time block. But if anyone wants to get in touch with you or like kind of just like check in on what you're up to, where can people find you?
My email address is annamarie@eraking.com. I also have a website, annamarieellison.com, and you can find me on all the social places.
What's your handle on Instagram? At
Anna Marie Ellison, all one word.
Nice.
And then Facebook is at Anna Marie Ellison too. And YouTube. I have a great YouTube channel you can check out.
Damn, y'all. Man, she's locked in. LinkedIn, YouTube, website, Instagram. She's on Facebook. She's everywhere. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this pod. Please check us out and look out for more episodes of the Arrows podcast. Thank you guys so much.